All right, what's up, YouTube? Counterpunch boxing. Okay, look, today, I kind of want to maybe give a prediction. Okay, I don't really know how to label the video. I mean, I don't even know what title to use. I guess I do my title at the end, so I guess maybe I'll call it I don't know, post or pre prediction thoughts or something. But look. First of all, I'm going to give you guys some good news, breaking news on a couple of things, and then I'm going to tell you my thought process behind the Golovkin Canelo fight. And I'm having a hard time with it. I'll be honest. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, and then I want to break down the punch stats. So, and I'm going to try to do it quick. But I've got Canelo's last fight against Chavez, and then Golovkin against Jacobs, and basically you have probably Canelo's best fight against because he's not in there with a live opponent like Jacobs. But what I'm going to show you is that Golovkin actually did better against his toughest challenge to date, okay, in Jacobs. So you got Golovkin, Jacobs doing better, throwing more punches, landing more punches, just the whole thing, doing better than Canelo in Chavez, which was a human punching bag. Okay, we know that now, but we'll get into that. But let me show you real quick. Yeah, and here's a part of it here. We'll talk about, the percent of punches landed in the last 5 fights by Gennady Golovkin. You can see a little graph right there. Okay, but let me get into Kell Brook real quick. And I was gonna make a separate video, but I'll just do like a 1-minute deal here. Basically, he's having surgery on that left eye. Gennady Golovkin broke the right eye, and now apparently after the Spence fight, he's going to have another operation on the left eye. Same injury, a broken orbital bone in the left eye. And look, I made a video and I said, did Spence get Golovkin's leftovers? Was it a damaged Kell Brook? And I still say yes. I think yes. I think he probably had damage in that left eye going into the fight from Golovkin. That's honestly what I think. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think, a welterweight has enough power, to break an orbital bone in a guy that should be at middleweight or light middleweight. So I think it was a lingering damage from the Golovkin fight, and that's the point that I tried to make in my other video. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Spence, but I mean, it's just highly unusual that a welterweight can break an orbital bone like that. I mean, we saw Manny Pacquiao do it in the Margarito fight, and I think there was another one. Could have been Blackwell in the Eubanks fight, possibly. I don't remember. I know he was, in a coma and things like that. But it's rare, very rare. So I'm kind of thinking it was just kind of a lingering effect from that Golovkin fight, all the damage he took in that fight. So, but just quick, in the second fight in a row in which the 31-year-old Brook, 36-2, 25 knockouts, has suffered the same injury. He suffered a broken orbital bone around his right eye that needed surgery following the 5th-round knockout loss to, Gennady Golovkin. And Brook had no luck finding a marquee welterweight opponent, had moved up 2 weights. He says right here, I got caught on the left eye in the 7th round, but although in another interview, he said it could have been the 2nd round, and he said it felt really bad. Brook said after the Spence fight, it was one of the worst feelings I ever had. Kind of like when Golovkin hit me and fractured my orbital bone. I was devastated. I just couldn't see. Okay. And then he kind of goes on here to explain, a little bit more in detail what had happened. So look right here. Here's Canelo, by the way, the picture you were looking at. That's Canelo in a recent picture. And look, I guess, I'll just start here. Okay. I still do not understand why the challenger, okay, the popular challenger, not even the mandatory, nothing like that, but he's just a challenger. Why does Canelo have a rematch clause and Golovkin doesn't? I mean, something smells really fishy to me here. It doesn't, and look, I looked it up. And Anthony Joshua, I think he may have had a rematch clause against Klitschko, possibly. I don't know, but it's just very rare to me that, a challenger has a rematch clause. Right here, Lance Pugmire, he put out, if Golovkin wins September 16th, there is a rematch clause for Canelo to invoke. If Canelo wins, he can choose whoever he wants next. I mean, look, if Canelo wins, do you think he's going to give Golovkin a rematch? No. I don't at all. But yeah, let me just show you. Here's just a couple pictures. They're doing some kind of photo shoot, and I think Canelo basically looks like he always looks, I mean, people are talking about what the hell is like Urkel? Where'd that come from? People are always talking about, how great Canelo Alvarez looks, and I'm like, fuck, he looks the same to me, But yeah, just a few pictures here before we get to. There's Golovkin's wife, by the way. Gosh, she is beautiful. My God. But okay, now. You know what? Let me get back here. Here, you can look at Golovkin's wife for a minute. The way I kind of like I said, this is not like my official prediction, but when I'm making a prediction, what I look for is I always go back to the last 3 fights. Okay. That's to me one of the most important things that I do. And I look at the styles, okay, because we all know styles make fights, of course, and I look at the weight, the tell of the tape, the reach, the height, the stats, their training camp, very important, any pre-fight issues, any injuries, any turmoil in the camp, all these things really do play a factor in it. And then I also like to say, well, what if Golovkin fought Canelo's last 3 opponents, and what if Canelo fought Golovkin's last 3 opponents? So in other words, what if Golovkin fought Amir Khan, Liam Smith, and Chavez, and what if Canelo fought Jacobs, Brook, and Dominic Wade? I look at it like that. So when you kind of ask yourself that question, what conclusion do you come up with? I mean, when you say, what would a Canelo Jacobs look like? What would a Canelo Brook look like? Okay, and then what would a Golovkin Khan look like? What would you see how I do it here? Okay, and then you start to see a little light. The meter kind of starts to tilt towards Gennady Golovkin when you look at it that way, and that's how I do it. And then I just start thinking about all kinds of things. Jacobs, huge in his prime. Okay, Brook, he was the bigger man on fight night and the better boxer. Okay, he was the better boxer. Wade, that was a mandatory whatever, but again, he was the bigger, better boxer. And I even go back to the 2011 sparring, which, I know a lot of people, talk about how young they were back then, but I go back to it because there's going to be a lot of things that have not changed, okay? I mean, of course, they've gotten better. I'm not trying to say, what happened in sparring is going to happen in the upcoming fight, but what I am trying to say is there are things that will remain the same throughout a boxer's entire career, okay? I mean, it's just how it is. But and then another thing that I kind of do, I look at the media, the media perception, because typically, press row, they get it right. I mean, back in the day, HBO used to always talk about press row, and, they on occasion, they do now, but, they would talk about how, our press row had, blah, blah, blah winning, or whoever winning, 80%, that kind of thing, because what they'll do when you get your press creds, they'll take a poll, from press, like who do you have winning kind of thing, and then they'll talk about that, throughout the fight. So there's a lot that goes into it, and then just my own boxing knowledge, looking at the 2 different styles and things like that, my own boxing knowledge, So I mean, right now, basically, what you have. I mean, the perception is Canelo is, the smaller guy, and, he's, moving up kind of thing. But, but then you got to think, we know, I mean, he doesn't get on the scale, but we know he comes in heavy, at least 100. Look, put it this way. He'll come in at a minimum and equal to Golovkin, meaning Golovkin probably comes in around 170. We all know that, right? or just a little bit under. So we know Canelo is going to be at least 170, and then you have an inch and a half height difference. The reach is, you know, within range. It's pretty similar, okay? So, you know, I think they're going to be equally sized. I think if anything, Canelo will be bigger, if anything, but I think that's going to hurt him because he's going to gas out. So, you know, but anyway, that's what I look at things like that, okay? But look, let's look at just, this is very telling. Well, first of all, let me show you this. Okay, in Golovkin's last 5 fights, okay, let me get rid of Jacobs over there. Okay, here's Gennady Golovkin. You can see he goes to that right eye. You know, 53% of his punches landed have been on the right eye. Okay, 28% been over there on the left eye. Okay, 10 to the ribs and 9, you know, 9, 10 to the body, that kind of thing. Okay, but I think, so the key is, what does that 53 tell you? That's his jab, okay? That's his left landing on the right eye of his opponent, okay? And also, it's that left hook, that crazy left hook. And then this 28 right here, you know, that's that overhand looping right where Golovkin, you know, he'll come in around the guard. He'll throw that looping punch and go around the guard. That's the 28. And the 53 is the jab. Okay, so when you look at that, you know, I think that kind of tells you what you're going to see in the Canelo fight. I think he's going to work behind the jab, and that's great. That's what he needs to do. You know, just pop that jab and maybe double up on it. You know, double up on it, but keep out of range. Okay, keep out of range. But then at moments, I think he needs to get inside the pocket and show Canelo, I'm not Amir Khan, you know, you know what I mean? I'm not Liam Smith. Like, I got a granite chin, and if you want to, you know, don't, what do they say? Don't hook with a hooker, you know? So that's what he needs to do. He needs to get in there and show him right away. I'm talking maybe round 1, fill him out. You know, that 53% work the jab, right? In round 1, just jab, 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 you know, and then give him a little bit of, give him a taste of that power. But then probably round 2, round 3, you know, look, in a fight of this magnitude, you want to fill him out, okay? And I don't care if round 1 is like boring as hell. You know, I want Golovkin to go in there, and if I was his coach, I would tell him, you know, to go in there, just stay right on the edge of range. You know, I don't care if the crowd's booing, whatever. You know, jab, 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 and give them a taste of that power. Just make sure you land at least 1 or 2 shots that, you know, gives them a little buzz, right? I mean, that's what I would tell Golovkin. And then round 2, I'd tell him to turn it up, okay? But let's look right here. Okay, now this is in the Jacobs fight. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm going to compare Golovkin's toughest fight against Canelo's easiest fight, okay? I mean, in the Chavez, because that was, like I said, he was a human punching bag, okay? But, you know, just, I guess we'll start the jabs right here, okay? He threw 300, you know, roughly 350, landed about 105 jabs, okay? And this is, again, against Jacobs, okay? So you look at Canelo in the jabs, and he threw 83. Well, he threw 264, but landed 83. Okay, so again, you look at that. You look at, you know, Canelo, he's not throwing as many jabs, and he never does. And then if you look at Canelo or Golovkin, like I just showed you, how he lands that 53% right here with the jab and with the left hook, that's going to be significant. I mean, I think Golovkin can beat him with the jab alone, you know, or he can win rounds simply with the jab, okay? So, and you know, they're going to have to get, look, and another thing, they're going to have to get rounds in the bank early, okay? And then, you know, of course, go for a knockout, but, you know, they need to, you know, take it 1 round at a time and make sure they win rounds, okay? Get them in the bank. It's like depositing money, you know, put it in the bank, right? Okay, you know, power punches. Here's another telling thing. And remember, this is against a guy that is just standing there doing nothing, okay? So Canelo right here threw about 340, landed 145, okay? So that's about a, what is that, like a 40-something% rate, okay? Now Gennady Golovkin 125, landing or through 259, landed 126. Now this tells you something about Canelo. Okay, he will let his hands go. Okay, he's more of a combination puncher, to where Gennady Golovkin is like seek and destroy. You know, the 1-2, the 1-2-3, and then Canelo, he'll put them combinations together. That's what that tells you right there with the power punches. Okay, so like I said, you got Golovkin right here. I'm looking at this number right here. I know it's blurry, sorry. 126, and then Alvarez right here, 145. Okay, but that's out of 340 punches. Okay, 145 out of 340, and then Golovkin is 125 out of 259, which kind of tells you, you know, Golovkin's kind of the more accurate puncher, the sharpshooter, whatever you want to call it. So this is how I do it. I look at this and I break it down. I don't just get on YouTube and go, okay, yeah, well, you know, I kind of like this guy and I think he's going to win. No, I mean, I study this shit. I do, and I've been studying this for days, and I will continue to study it up until I make my prediction. And then all the things that I mentioned before, all of that plays into it. You know, looking at their, like I said, look at their last 3 fights, okay? You know, the sparring, you know, who are their sparring partners, things like that. You know, I want to see, like, training footage. I want to see, you know, I want to see, like, a motivated Gennady Golovkin. You know, I want to see Gennady Golovkin, like, just fired up, motivated, ready to go in there and wreck shop. You know, that's what I want to see, you know? So, you know, things like that. I have to look at all that before, you know, I make a prediction. So, but yeah, right here, Golovkin total punches, 231 out of about 600. You know, landing at about 30, roughly 38. Okay, 38%. And then Canelo total punches. Okay, 228 out of about 600. So 228, 600, 231, 600. So look, my point is, Canelo in the Chavez fight, I mean, he's a human punching bag. I mean, Canelo could just, like, fire away at will. So you have Gennady Golovkin in one of the toughest fights in his career. I don't mean to repeat myself, but, you know, the numbers don't lie, okay? Golovkin was just as active, if not more, okay? You know, I'd call him more effective, actually, and Canelo than Canelo, okay? And then, of course, you know, you have the criticism, well, as Golovkin brought up, a damn good point, you know, why couldn't Canelo get Chavez out of there? You know, if he can stand up in between every round, you know, and look all, you know, like Mr., you know, Macho Man and all that, well, you know, why couldn't you get him out of there? You know, why couldn't you get him out of there? And that's my question that I would ask, you know. But, yeah, the picture right there, that's from the 2011 sparring. And then, you know, Golovkin even said, he's like, you know, look, I've learned his bad habits. And here's where these people keep saying, like, oh, it doesn't matter what happened back then. But yet you have Golovkin and Abel Sanchez. They said, look, the mistakes that he made in 2011, he's still making them in the ring today, okay? Because it's like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? So that's what they're trying to say, that, you know, we picked up on a lot of things back then that he is still currently doing today. You know, because every boxer has a style, and every coach, they know how to penetrate that style, okay? So that's what they're trying to say. But, you know, like I said, I'm not going to give my prediction right now. I mean, just, I guess, throwing it, I don't know, what do you call it, like a soft prediction. You know, of course, I've got Gennady Golovkin winning, and I think he's going to stop Canelo. I think there's going to be some kind of damage, I don't know, broken rib, a bad cut. You know, something is going to happen that I think the fight will get stopped, and then, you know, Canelo will basically want the rematch, is what I'm kind of thinking, you know. And then, but you know, like I said, it just, something is not right here to me. It doesn't make any kind of sense that he's got the rematch clause and he's the challenger. Like, I'm telling you, man, that, like, blows my mind. I don't understand that, but, you know, but look, guys, looking at the numbers, looking at the size, looking at the stats, you know, looking at their last 3 opponents, and ask yourself that question, you know, what would each of them do if it was reversed? What would they do? Because that's an important way to look at it. And if you go back in history and look at any fight, I mean, that way of thinking applies. I mean, it's a proven way to predict the fight. It works, okay? You know, it's a good formula to use. So, but you know, I mean, and another thing too that is just really important. You know, Canelo, he's never tasted a true middleweight punch. Think about that. I'm going to end it here. That's huge. This is huge. He has never, maybe in sparring, but not, unless they're without headgear and there's adrenaline going and this other dude's trying to knock him out. He has never tasted, one of the hardest hitting middleweights in middleweight history. I mean, he's never tasted anything like that. And forget about that. He's never truly tasted a middleweight's punch, okay? Like in a real fight, in a real boxing match, I'm talking about. Not in the gym, not back in Mexico when he was 18 or 20. I'm talking about in his pro career, he's never tasted that kind of power. And how is his chin going to hold up? Because I'll tell you this, I was ringside in the Kirkland fight, and before Canelo knocked out Kirkland, and what had happened was Kirkland landed a couple of good shots, and Canelo got pissed off, like, oh, how dare you hit me like that? But he was buzzed, okay? I can tell you, James Kirkland buzzed his ass. I mean, I was right there. I was standing right there, and you can go back and watch it. And then that's why Canelo laid it on. That's why he knocked him out, because he's like, like, oh hell no, you're not going to do that to me, And then he got the knockout. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. But like I said, these charts here, and especially right here, is really telling and very important. To me, it tells me Gennady Golovkin is going to work the jab, and that overhand right, that 28%. I mean, put it this way. Okay, let's say Golovkin is throwing, 10 punches around, which I know is going to be a lot more. That means at least 3 of them, or if he's throwing 10 power punches around, excuse me, at least 3 of them are going to land at one point or another. That's what you get with that 28%. Okay, that means that Canelo's going to, his chin is going to have to hold up. Okay, because, I mean, Golovkin will land good power shots on him. Okay, at least 1, 2, 3 per round. And that's the question, will he hold up? And I don't think he will. I don't think he will. And I heard Abel Sanchez talking about how, well, when we crack a rib, or when we get in there and break a rib, he's going to learn real quick, what Golovkin's his power is all about. Okay. And, and don't believe that bullshit. You got Jacobs running around, talking about, oh, it wasn't nothing special, this, that, and the other. Well, like I said, that dude came in like damn near a fucking heavyweight, probably, And not only that, I really, truly believe Golovkin took it easy on him to lure Canelo in. I do. I really do. So, but anyway, guys, yeah, let me leave it at that. What do you think about the breakdown? Like I said, my early prediction is I've got Golovkin winning by stoppage. Okay, that's my early prediction. So what do you guys think?